right, let's dive right in. Today, we're talking about something that is, quite literally, the heart of any project: communication. And we're going to look at it as a choice, a tale of two very different philosophies that can absolutely make or break your success.
So, let's kick things off with a big one. You know, with all the moving parts, budgets, scope, new tech, what do you think is the single biggest killer of most projects? What's the number one reason they fall apart?
Yep, that's it. It's not the budget, it's not the tech. More than anything else, it's a breakdown in communication. And this isn't just some small hiccup, it's the leading cause of failure. That's exactly why we've got to get this right.
So, here's our game plan for today. First, we'll quickly cover why communication is just so vital. Then, we'll introduce our two competing philosophies and see how they plan, manage, and monitor communication differently. And of course, we'll wrap up by helping you figure out which playbook is the right one for you. Let's get into it.
Okay, first up, why all the fuss about communication? Well, it's pretty simple, really. Good communication isn't just a nice-to-have skill. It is the absolute lifeblood that keeps a project moving, breathing, and, well, alive.
You know, project communication management sounds super formal, but it's not just about sending emails or setting up meetings. It's the whole strategy behind making sure the right people get the right info at the right time. When you nail it, confusion disappears, people can make smart decisions, and you build trust. But when it fails, that's when you get chaos, missed deadlines, blown budgets, and super frustrated teams. It's all about getting everyone pulling in the same direction.
And that brings us to the core idea for today. We're going to look at the two main ways to handle all this through the eyes of two different personas: the architect, who is all about structure and planning, and the collaborator, who is all about flexibility and people.
So on one side, you have the architect. This is your traditional approach. They live and breathe by the master blueprint. For them, communication has to be formal, written down, and flow through a very clear chain of command. It's all about control and predictability. Then you have the collaborator, representing the Agile world. They believe that real progress comes from constant conversation. For them, communication is open, it's continuous, and it's driven by the team itself. It's all about being able to adapt and move fast.
Okay. Now let's see how these two different mindsets actually play out. We'll start at the very beginning, in the planning phase. How do the architect and the collaborator get ready for communication before a single thing has even been built?
So, the textbook goal here is to create a plan based on what every stakeholder needs to know. It's really about being intentional from day one. But as you're about to see, our architect and our collaborator have very different ideas about what a plan should actually look like.
And this is where it gets really interesting. Look at the difference in the final output. The architect produces a formal, detailed, written-down communications management plan. The collaborator? They create team protocols and working agreements, basically a shared understanding of how they're all going to talk to each other. One creates a document, the other creates a culture. It's a huge difference.
Okay, so the plan is in place, or at least the approach is. Now it's time to actually do the work. This brings us to the manage phase, and this is where we see how information really flows, or doesn't, day in and day out.
When you look at this, the biggest thing that jumps out is the direction of the information. The architect is focused on executing that plan we talked about, which usually means one-way communication. Think of it like broadcasting a status report. It's efficient, sure, but it can be slow to react when things go wrong. The collaborator, on the other hand, is all about constant engagement. They're fostering two-way conversations, creating these non-stop, informal feedback loops that can catch and fix problems way faster. And the Collaborators Toolkit really shows this in action. Instead of waiting for some formal report, Agile teams use these visual, in-your-face tools, things like Kanban boards that show the workflow or burn-down charts tracking progress. They're often called information radiators for a reason. They literally just radiate information out to everyone all the time. It's all about transparency and making sure everyone feels like they own a piece of it.
So last but not least, how do we know if any of this is actually working? This is the monitoring phase. And once again, our two philosophies have totally different goals in mind.
This right here is a really key distinction. The architect's main goal is to audit performance against the plan. They're asking, are we following the rules we set out at the beginning? That ensures consistency. But the collaborator's goal is to adapt and improve the communication process itself. The whole team gets together and asks, how can we talk to each other better next time? One drives compliance, the other drives innovation.
And in the Agile world, this improvement cycle is baked right into the workflow. They hold regular retrospectives where the team gets together, gives honest feedback, figures out what could be better, and then updates how they work together. It's a loop designed for constant fine-tuning, not just checking boxes.
So, we've seen the two playbooks, the architect with their detailed blueprint and the collaborator with their dynamic whiteboard. The big question now isn't about which one is better, but which one is the right fit for the specific game you're playing.
Let's just put it all side by side one last time. The architect is plan-driven. They value structure and predictability. They create formal plans, they send out one-way status reports, and they monitor to make sure everyone is sticking to that plan. The collaborator is people-driven. They value transparency and adaptation. They use lightweight team agreements, manage with real-time two-way conversations, and they monitor to constantly get better through feedback.
So what's the big takeaway here? It's that there is no single right answer. The best approach totally depends on your situation. Is your project stable and predictable, or is it constantly changing? What kind of culture does your company have? The best project managers know both of these playbooks inside and out, and they know exactly when to call each play. And that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. As our work gets faster, more complex, and more unpredictable, what does your team need more of? A perfect, detailed blueprint, or a better, more honest conversation? The answer to that question might just define the success of your next project.